Hey everybody, welcome to the 6th-round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado. We are here coming to you shortly after the conclusion of UFC Moscow, Magomedsharipov versus Kattar, UFC Fight Night 163, UFC on ESPN Plus 21, whatever you want to call it. A not bad, but at the end of the day, not especially thrilling card of MMA, probably mostly highlighted by the fact that it's on early enough in the day that people can go do other stuff, and if you missed it, I don't know that many people are going to need to turn back around and watch it right away.
Nah, this was a slog.
Yeah.
I hated this card. This was like my least favorite card of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it so much just because we can all kind of go do other stuff. Zabit versus Kattar, that was a fun fight. Danny Roberts had a big KO. Herman versus Ibragimov was kind of bananas, but so much of this card was, Volkov Hardy was a slog. Rocco Martin versus Ramzan Emeev was a slog. Shamil Gamzatov, Klidson Abreu was a slog. Just
this was painful.
Not fun.
And it's crazy because it's like these are grown men fighting is boring. Like what?
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's also that part of me that always says that down at their heart, all sports are actually boring, and the only way that they're not boring is when you get so invested that you care about all the little stuff. So,
or when there's fights.
yeah, when there's fights, when you're not just watching.
And it's like a lot of these didn't suck for lack of effort. It's like the guys were trying. It's like there wasn't a lot of passivity. It was just, I don't know if they're just so evenly matched, but like just a lot of there was very, very few wow moments. I think very few.
The big thing is that it's a lot of very tough UFC level, just sub-elite talent, like just hairs off that really, really top level talent, which means that they're tough guys who aren't gonna who don't have those singular amazing skills that are absolutely just gonna blow somebody else out of the water when that opponent is also an incredibly tough guy.
Yeah, and it wasn't like they were subpar enough to where like their defense is completely shot, so it's like this wild, sloppy, just like bar fight. It was like they were all technically sound, but man, let's just get through this.
All right. Main event. Calvin Kattar loses a decision to Zabit Magomedsharipov, and kind of exactly the fight that everybody thought it would be, which was Zabit starting out really fast, looking really good, just being too confusing and tricky and diverse for Kattar to catch up to him for 2 rounds. And then Kattar catching up to him and plugging him for that last round. But it's a 3-round fight. That's all you got.
Yeah, we might as well call this the 4th round post-fight show for this.
True.
When was the last time the UFC only had 3 rounds in a main event that went the distance?
I'd have to do the research. And
it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. It's been a minute.
And like, it sucks because, like, if there was ever a fight that needed 5 rounds, it's this one.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
Like, I'm glad that this card's over, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But we needed 2 more rounds of that to determine the true winner.
Especially just the way the momentum was shifting. Like, right at the end of the 2nd round, you could see Kattar really starting to find his rhythm, finding ways into the fight. And then in the 3rd round, Zabit just did not look like he wanted the pressure at all.
He was slowing down. He was getting tired, checking the clock. He was just taxed from the pace he set early on.
Yeah.
That Kattar realized that and was like, this is my chance. If it's going to happen, it's going to be now. And he went for it, man. He was throwing beautiful punching combinations, attacking the body, throwing leg kicks as Zabit was skirting away. Like, he was really going for it. And I feel cheated. I feel robbed.
The unfortunate thing here really is, honestly, that if this is going to be a title fight deciding bout, like if Zabit Magomedsharipov is headed for a title shot off of this, it really is not the kind of performance that makes anyone turn around and say, give this guy a title shot.
No way. Like, I need to see him in 5 rounds before that. But, like, don't get me wrong. Like, he is phenomenal and one of the best fighters out today. But I need to see that gas tank in the later rounds. Like, it hasn't been tested. Yeah. So until it's tested, those questions are going to be there.
So does that mean that maybe they should try and book a top contenders bout between him and the winner of Chan Sung Jung versus Brian Ortega?
Absolutely. But that's the thing is, like, it doesn't even matter who you put Zabit in there with. It's going to be fun, and I'm going to watch. But yeah, in terms of like legitimacy for a title shot, yeah, that's absolutely an excellent. Korean Zombie, Ortega, 2 very legit top tier, been there, done that kind of fighters. Throw them in there with Zabit, see what happens. But just make it 5 freaking rounds. Like, I just don't understand why they couldn't just make this one a 5-rounder.
Well, Zabit's team refused. They said it on the broadcast.
Yeah, he had like staph infection and overcame it, and then
they didn't even ask him.
Oh, they made the choice for him.
Yeah, his management just said no, 3-round fight.
I guess when you got that kind of clout.
Well, it's not like they were wrong.
Yeah.
if I'm managing Zabit Magomedsharipov and they're like, oh yeah, last minute, let's change this to a 5-round fight, I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Thanks.
No, I totally get it. Get it. But yeah, cool fight. Probably fight of the night, I would say, just for like the technical prowess and everything. But man, I can't help but feel bad for Calvin Kattar. Like, who?
Yep. It's clearly a fight that he had the ability to win, but it's also the kind of thing too where you got to know, if you're Calvin Kattar, you got 3 rounds and you know this dude is going to start on fire, and Kattar didn't. He started slow.
Yeah, and a lot of that is just how Zabit fights. Like, he's in with his strikes, and then he gets out of dodge so quickly that by the time Kattar's returning fire, there's nothing there to be hit.
Yep.
So good on Zabit. He got the job done, and he hung on. He hung on and didn't get taken out. Took home the decision. So good for him.
Yeah. That brings us to a heavyweight bout. Alexander Volkov, Greg Hardy, and
it was a fight, I guess.
When this fight got announced, I was not at all on the team of people excited to think that they were going to see Greg Hardy get his ass beat.
No, you had to have expected him to get picked apart, though.
Oh, yeah. This isn't I didn't think Greg Hardy was going to lose this fight. I knew he was going to lose the fight.
Yeah.
It's just, this is only a win for Greg Hardy. Like, this may be a fight he lost, but it's not a fight that is going to diminish him in any way in the UFC's eyes.
No. I mean, it's I don't think he can be diminished in the UFC's eyes. Like, I just don't even think that is a possibility unless he gets knocked out repetitively. Like,
there's that, and it's just like, this isn't going to diminish. There are already all sorts of people being like, "Oh man, Greg Hardy looked good. He looked way better in that fight," and it's exactly the kind of thing where, like, for Hardy, this is all win-win for him. This is all failing upwards. He went out and he did the UFC a favor, and he overperformed against a top 10 guy who even self-admittedly was just looking to skate this one through and get a decision because he didn't want to have a second straight loss on his record. And the end result is there's no like downside for this if you're Greg Hardy.
No. And that's another thing. It's like, with someone as, like, love him or hate him, I don't think many people love him, but people definitely hate him. But with someone that athletic, you have to expect him to just consistently look leaps and bounds better than he did his last time out, even if it's only a couple days or whatever. Like, he's just someone that is just going to naturally just be picking up on this and getting better and better and better. And, like, he lasted 3 rounds with Volkov. Like, that's saying something, I guess. He wasn't just a complete punching bag. Like, he was trying. Yeah. Like, he just didn't have the technical know-how to really deliver anything. But he tried his best. I'll give him that.
Yeah, well, the part for me that keeps bugging me is that everybody's given him everything, basically. It's all giving. He's just kind of, he's not having to earn anything, and this isn't gonna change that in any way.
At least they didn't give him the main event.
Yeah, that's true. They knew better than that.
Could you imagine him in a 5-round fight?
No. That would be ugly. For Volkov, though, this keeps him exactly where he wants to be, treading water right around that top 5, especially with dudes like Francis Ngannou and Curtis Blades needing fights and in no position whatsoever to fight each other. Right. Volkov is primed for another kind of top contender bout.
Man, and I don't even like his chances in those.
Yeah, but that's got to be the goal for Volkov,
Yeah, it has to be.
It's either that or wait for
JDS fight. Yeah,
wait for JDS's leg to heal again.
Ooh, that was gross, by the way.
Yeah,
it looked like he got shot with like a 50 caliber rifle or something.
Yeah,
it was pretty bad.
So that brings us to a welterweight bout. Danny Roberts, Zelim Imadaev, and a beautiful highlight KO from Roberts in a fight he absolutely had to win. He lost 2 straight. Felt like the UFC was matching him up against a steadily decreasing level of competition. First it's oh, damn it. Name just totally evaporated.
Pareja? Michelle Pareja?
No, before that it was
Claudio Silva.
Yeah, the Claudio Silva, and then it's Michelle Pareja, and now it's Zelim Imadaev, and it's like you lose this one, you're probably out the door. And he came through and got a fantastic knockout out of it. Fun fight, pretty fight, good action fight, back and forth all the way through. Just kind of, sandwiched on this card.
Yeah, I mean, Roberts did his thing though. Like he was going for takedowns, and when he didn't get them, he was landing beautiful knees in the clinch and stayed relatively safe on his feet. I think he hurt himself more than Imadaev hurt him on the feet actually, with that little, I don't know what he did to his ankle or something.
Oh yeah.
Hurt himself somehow, and then he pulls out this wicked knockout at the end of the second. That was just, oh man, like it's rare that guys throw rear hand hooks, especially like in MMA. But man, that thing connected and completely just twisted Imadaev around, and he went splat.
Yeah,
that was awesome. That was like one of the biggest highlights on the card.
Definitely, and that's the thing is that all the highlights of this card are almost all experienced fighters just styling on much less experienced fighters.
Yeah, Man, I have very few good things to say about this card.
All right. Let's speed it up then. We got Ed Herman, Kadis Ibragimov, and for anybody hoping that Ibragimov really learned some good lessons in his last loss and knew what he was going to do to apply himself against Ed Herman, not the case.
Nope. He comes out and he's a drag racer. That's what he is. He is a drag racer in like a Le Mans series.
Well, and the thing is that he really just kind of like almost tried to tough old man fight Ed Herman.
Who's a tough old man?
Get in the clinch, make it dirty, be like gritty and tough in there. It's just like with Ed Herman, come on.
Yeah, that's Ed Herman.
Yeah, all you had to do was be a little bit slick outside, and you're 5 times faster than this guy. But you're gonna tie him up and just try to like Randy Couture him.
Yeah, that was wild.
Yeah.
And credit to Ed Herman. That dude can fight with his back to the fence.
Mm-hmm.
He's saying all sorts of elbows, knees. Like even when he was on his back, like in the third, it was Herman who was landing the elbows and going for the submissions. And Ibragimov, man, he pooed the bed in this one.
Yeah, he's gonna have to. Maybe the lessons will sink in the second time around, and he'll just realize that he really needs to take his foot off the gas and use some of his other skills if he has them.
Yeah, he definitely needs to throttle a little bit.
That brings us to a welterweight bout. Anthony Martin, Ramazan Emeev, and this was a terrible fight from Imadaev. I don't know what he was thinking, but he spent the bulk of it just in a pure range kickboxing battle with Martin and just getting picked off on the counter, leg kicks, jabs.
Man. Those calf kicks were brutal. It was shades of Roy McDonald, Douglas Lima 1.
Yeah.
Like, Imadaev had like a second calf growing on the front. But credit to McDonald, though. Or, excuse me, to Martin. He really held his own on the ground.
Yeah.
And, you know, he did what he had to do to get the win, and it worked out.
Yeah, he stayed controlled and composed. He's become a much more staid, good sort of striker who has a lot of tools to his game. Good counterpuncher, shows some long strikes, can just kind of sit down and keep on a patient range game. And Imadaev, like, he's always been a pressure fighter, a bully, somebody who's gonna, you know, go in there, put you against the cage, put a pace on you, wear on you, and he just didn't get that going at all in this fight.
No, it looked like he was fighting underwater. Like,
yeah,
just he seemed zapped out there. I don't know what was going on.
He did. Brings us to a light heavyweight bout. Shamil Gamzatov, Klidson Abreu. Abreu kind of got robbed in this one.
I disagree. I don't think he got robbed. I think the fight was so sticky that the bulk of the strikes that landed were grazing or blocked. I thought Abreu won, but there just weren't enough wow moments. There wasn't enough. Like, the only wow moments I really remember was Abreu landing heavy unchecked leg kicks, and Abreu got that one takedown. Like, other than that, I mean, what was significant that was landed?
Yeah, that's a weird thing too. Like, this is very much a perception live versus stats thing. It's backing you up. Because I say Abreu got robbed, but really my feeling is that he fought such a slow-paced fight that he only has himself to blame. But
it does seem like a homer decision there, though.
It really felt like Abreu was landing the better, cleaner, more meaningful shots all fight. Yeah. Or for the first 2 rounds. I think he lost the 3rd round. But I'm looking at the stats, and they're saying that Gamzatov outlanded him 3-1 in the first round, which I don't remember at all. But if that's the case, then Abreu really doesn't have much room for complaint.
Man, I don't know how they scored, like how they came up with those statistics. I mean, I feel like a lot of those shots just weren't landing.
Yeah, I really did not see Gamzatov landing that regularly or cleanly or with anything that significant enough to give him that kind of edge. But, you know, if that's the kind of math that they're working on, then I can't argue too hard in Abreu's favor. Just watching it live, I thought Abreu pretty clearly controlled the first 2 rounds and dropped the 3rd. So,
and I mean, it's not like the judges have the stats in front of them.
They don't.
Either.
Yeah.
So whatever.
Whatever.
It was close and sticky.
It's not a fight worth caring enough about. That brings us to about another light heavyweight bout. Magomed Ankalaev, Dalcha Lungiambula, and Lungiambula. This fight did him no favors. This booking.
Oh, you mean Oluwale Bamboshe?
No, man. Yeah, he's got power. He's got some. Like, he's as wide as he is tall. He's got a hell of a frame on him, but he just doesn't have any technique anywhere. And Ankalaev made him, just kind of took him apart piece by piece, and then that front kick KO was absolutely wicked.
Yeah, Ankalaev fought really smart. Like, he came out pressuring, and the second he tasted the power, he was like, "Oh, wait a minute, let me back up for a second." And then the clinch war started, and he was doing really well there. Like, it was a little stale, but he was the one landing knees to the body, chipping away. Where Lungiambula, did I say that right?
Yep.
Lungiambula, he was just purely grappling.
Yeah,
he was just trying to grapple and use his judo, which wasn't working. And that 2nd round, he ended up on the bottom and ate some devastating elbows. And then just he got destroyed there in the 3rd. That upkick was sweet. And the cross that finished it, that was hot. That was hot business.
It was a beautiful front kick KO. Great highlight win. Great overall performance for Ankalaev. I'd like to see him maybe face somebody like OSP next or Misha Serkinov, you know?
Okay.
Jump into the edges of the top 15.
I love the OSP matchup.
Yeah.
I love that.
Get him away from the bottom end of light heavyweight where these guys, it just doesn't feel fair to be like throwing them against a prospect who's that well-rounded and that technical, and start throwing them in against the guys who are swimming around the edges of the top 15 and are there to gatekeep.
He's looking promising, though.
Yeah. That brings us to a welterweight bout, and I was really not at all interested or pleased with this bout when it got booked, and this is why. Rustam Khabilov, Sergey Khandashko, and it was fun for a round, and then Khabilov just kind of put a grind on Khandashko, and that was it.
Which, I mean, you got to expect.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's the thing with Khandashko is he's a fun, interesting, like open range, slow paced striker. He needs that like medium paced striking bout to be really fun. And he's got a bunch of losses on his record to guys who could just take him down and out wrestle him. And there's another one, you know.
To his credit, he did defend the takedowns really well for the first 2 rounds.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is his back was to the cage and he was throwing 0 offense.
Yeah.
So if you're not throwing offense and you're just being defensive, you can't expect to get ahead on the scorecards.
And of course, you know, the other side of this that kind of sucks for Khabilov is that now he's got like a 10-4 record in the UFC, and it's still, or 10-3 record in the UFC, and he's still a fighter that like nobody's excited to watch. You know?
And another thing is like he moved up to welterweight for this.
Yeah, I know.
His style just might really struggle there.
It might. He was working really hard for takedowns that he used to get really easy at lightweight in this fight.
And it's not like Sergey's has this amazing anti-wrestling.
No.
He just has a true welterweight frame.
Yeah.
So what's that going to look like when Kopylov fights someone higher in the food chain?
Yeah.
Kopylov was looking fast with his hands, but like that's not his MO. Like he's not coming to do that.
Yeah, just not a fight that gets anybody hyped for anything coming out of it. That brings to a middleweight bout though, and this is a hype fight. Karl Roberson, Roman Kopylov. Kopylov, a pretty hot prospect out of Russia, Fight Night's global champ, young kid. Roberson, you know, is kind of making his way as a power striker in the middleweight division, and that power really showed up for him here. All the leg kicks early, and then getting poked in the eye, bad enough that his eye was bleeding, and just came out and put the stamp on Kopylov to get that takedown and that rear naked choke, and that was gorgeous.
Yeah, all the credit in the world to him. Having that kind of heart to be like, he was already ahead on the scorecards. Like he could have easily been like, all right, now I'm done. Let's go to the scorecards and get out of here. Give me my win bonus. But he was like, nah, this dude's going to get it. Came out and just strangled him. Like that was great. That was absolutely great. And how about Kopylov trying to get aggressive upon the restart, just throwing everything, trying to get super aggressive and take advantage of the moment. And the second he tasted another one of them leg kicks, he was like, wait a minute, let me back off with this pressure now. Because that leg was already tore up. Yeah, no.
Rough debut for Kopylov. As a middleweight, as a high volume striker, middleweight without a lot of power, he's gonna have some trouble navigating 185 pounds, I think. But especially coming in against a striker like Roberson, who just does have a lot of power and good enough technique to not get overwhelmed. This was a rough way to make your debut.
Tons of composure for Roberson.
Yeah. So great win for Roberson, and a fight I hope gets him matched up with somebody else knocking on the door of the top 15, like a Marvin Vettori or somebody like that, you know.
I'm okay with all of those.
Yeah.
He looks like he's got it all. And my favorite part is that he came out, he was just owning it on the stand up, and then he finished with some grappling.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to see. Like, well-rounded game and tough. Like, he showed so much in this. He showed his stand-up composure, his toughness. He showed his grappling, submission abilities. Like, he showed so many different avenues in this one fight that's all aces for him.
Night's big shocker, big upset when David Zawada subs Abubakar Nurmagomedov in the opening round. Caught him in a triangle choke. That thing looked incredibly tight the moment it got slapped on. And Nurmagomedov had no choice but to tap out. And I think, there were people, I'm not saying nobody was picking Zawada. Clearly, our producer was picking Zawada. She was crowing about that on Twitter. But I think anybody picking Zawada was like, oh, I don't really like Nurmagomedov's gas tank. He's flagged a lot in second and third rounds and other fights. Nobody was picking Zawada to get taken down and then get a sub instantly.
It was more picking against Nurmagomedov. But shout out to Steph Haynes for calling it, though. Good on her.
Yeah.
But the jiu-jitsu was phenomenal, though. Zawada really did his thing. He locked up the triangle, and then he transitioned, started working for the arm, and working for the arm caused Nurmagomedov to lean back into him. And when he leaned back into him, Zawada went back to the triangle and cinched it up and got the tap. And that is excellent jiu-jitsu.
Just a huge win for him, and a rough loss for Nurmagomedov, who's just going to it's going to be really hard to climb out of his cousin's shadow no matter what. But losing your debut UFC fight makes it just that much more, oh yeah, he's the bad Nurmagomedov.
Yep. Man. But we've seen him get subbed before in the PFL. Like, we knew, like, if you've been following him since, like, even the World Series of Fighting, like, you know he's, like, not really, he's not super athletic, almost slow, just, it's a shame that he's even, like, compared to Khabib, because there's really no comparison outside of the last name. Yeah. That's about where it ends. It's like, they're not the same.
Yeah, it's just rough. It's got to be rough to be in that position as a fighter where you're doing what you want, you're good at what you want, and you're always going to be compared to somebody who's just way better at it than you.
And we've seen people come out of the shadows, like Nate Diaz, perfect example.
Yeah.
He, for the longest time, Nick Diaz was the Diaz, and then Nate was just the brother of Nick Diaz, and now more people know Nate than Nick, which blows my mind. So, it's happened, but I don't think this is that.
No, I don't think so either. That brings us to a lightweight bout: Roosevelt Roberts, Alexander Yakovlev. Solid win for Roberts. I think Yakovlev kind of blew this fight late when he postured up late in the third round off a takedown, and Roberts kicked off and got to his feet and took over and won the round from there. But it was a fun, competitive, back and forth fight. Not bad. Definitely
competitive. And I think Yakovlev his start wasn't that great either. Like, it looked like he was trying to actually stand and, like, keep it on the feet for a second. And it's like, wait a minute. Shouldn't you be closing the distance and, like, working your takedowns?
Yeah.
But instead, you're getting lit up. And then there in the third, he left his neck out there and almost got choked out and had to flop to his back. And then you had what's his face? You had Roberts just take top position and keep it, and just, credit to Roberts is grappling, which I think was the big standout here for me. I was a little surprised to see him hold his own like that and do as well as he did.
Yeah, he definitely. It felt like there were a couple moments where Yakovlev was just going to take this fight over entirely from top control, and Roberts did a good job scrambling out and getting back to his feet and getting the fight back to positions where he could win it. So, solid fight for him. Tough loss for Yakovlev. That brings us to a women's bantamweight bout: Pani Kianzad, Jessica Rose Clark. And, man, sometimes style matchups, they just don't change,
Yeah, this was a rematch. And I think the first fight was a little similar.
Real similar.
Penny is just a much better boxer, and Jessica Rose Clark just doesn't like she has like nice single strikes, and like she can throw her right hand or she can throw body kicks, but she's not throwing like three pieces out there.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have the same sort of power in her strikes. So when Penny was landing, Clark you could physically just moving and just almost overreacting to the strikes. And like that counts for a lot. At least in the judge's eyes. It's like the opposite of Benson Henderson.
It's true. Yeah, you don't want to be the fighter that oversells what they get hit with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just it was the kind of fight where Clark, she had to work a high pressure game to win it. And, you look at the strike, you look at the stats at the end, and you've got Kian Zad throwing 238 strikes and landing 98 of them to Clark's 157-65. And like you can't fall behind Kian Zad in volume and not physically push her around in the cage and try to win that fight. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. But good win for Bonsai.
Yeah, gets her finally in the winner's circle in the octagon, which she deserves. She's a decent technical fighter. She's just got problems fighting off people who can really bully her. And that brings us to our opening bout: bantamweight Davy Grant, Grigory Popov, and solid win for Grant, who stuck to what he had to do. Got takedowns, stayed aggressive with his grappling, just outworked Popov over the distance for a much needed win.
And he got off to a really quick start.
Yep.
Like came out throwing all the leg kicks, looking really good. A lot of variety from him also. And Popov was just kind of content to sit back looking for the counter that just wasn't there.
Yeah.
And there were a ton of low blows in this fight also, one in each round, which was a little weird. But they both seemed super respectful about it all. Like they were completely unintentional.
Yeah.
But, outside of like a few submission attempts and like Grant slowing down a little bit there in the third, this was a solid win for Davy Grant.
Yeah, I'm happy to see him get back in and get a win, considering how snake bit his UFC career has been. He had like 3 years on the sidelines after losing to Chris Holdsworth in his debut, and then another 2 years on the sidelines after losing to Damian Stasiak, and then he hasn't fought again for almost a year and a half.
Yeah. So, he does have a win over Cheeto, though.
He does. It's, there's something there for him, but he had to get this win if he wanted to show it again. So, some all right fights on this card up and down if you're looking at it top to bottom, but a lot of stuff that just you didn't need to watch either.
Yeah, very pedestrian card if there ever was one. And my front runner for worst card of the year.
Fair enough. I can never hate a morning card too much just because I end up with more of my day free, but I'm also not about to pour out a lot more, thought for this one. So, End of the day, Zabit got the win that he may have needed to be the top contender at featherweight, but he didn't get it in a way that's going to make a lot of people hyped for that. So, we'll see what the UFC decides to do with it, if he's going to be the guy next up. And we still got a couple months anyway, or a month and a half or so anyway, but before Holloway and Volkanovski get at it. So there's always time for things to change and for the UFC to change their tactic or whatever. On that note, though, let's wrap things up. You can find me on Twitter at Zane Simon. You can find Eddie on Twitter at the Eddie Mercado. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and we will see you next week.